Why did I take these out of the container if I'm gonna have to organize them again? Hello scribblers and welcome back. Today we are reviewing Arteeza's watercolor brush pen set. Arteeza is a brand that sells all things an artist of any medium might need. Ranging from traditional drawing supplies to clay, yarn, or crafting, you name it, they probably have it. The set that I'm reviewing today is a bit older when they had 48 colors. Now if you go to their webpage, the set actually comes with 49. I missed out, didn't I? I found this great site when I was actually in college. Since then, they definitely expanded what they carried. Their products I found are always made with the artist in mind, and of course, the ease of access to order what you need right away is always a plus. The price for these currently are $36, but Arteeza always tends to have a sale of some sort. Now, let's turn to our brushes. I started off swatching the colors without any water, just testing what the colors look like on paper. The colors come in a wide variety and range. Only duplicates that I found were very close in range, and that would actually be the pink and a little bit of the blues. Even though they are similar in color, the swatches varied in the value, which for some can actually be helpful so you don't have to mix colors to get the tone that you want. To each their own. The colors themselves are bright and vivid without any addition of water. That was a plus for me because once they get desaturated with water, they will still be crisp and clear. A positive quality I noticed was that the brushes are durable. Being made with nylon fibers gives them enough bend like a paintbrush, but being sturdy like a marker. I guess that's why they call them watercolor markers. Sometimes though, if you're an artist who is going to be using these a lot, the fibers might fray or they'll pull further from the tip, causing a weird string effect. It's an easy fix, honestly. All you have to do is just trim with scissors and it'll work just fine. Next, let's discuss the paper these would be best for. I would not recommend sketching paper, obviously, because they are a wet medium, causing the paper to fray and rip. Using mixed media or watercolor paper is probably going to give you the best results. For the swatch test, I'm actually using watercolor paper, nothing of high quality, just a brand you can find at any craft store. The colors come nicely organized in the box, hence why I really didn't need to dump them all out over the place. But you live and you learn. After swatching the colors, I wanted to test out how well they would blend. Wet on dry worked fine, colors layered well, and there were some fraying after overworking it. Wet on wet, I found with the pink did not work at all. I laid down a wash of water, then added the color, and it already started to fray, as well as not really show up at all, so just be careful with those lighter tones. Blending was a hit or miss. As I tried pulling the colors, it did not have a smooth gradation from light to dark. And again, if you're going to keep working to blend it out on the paper, the fraying, oh my goodness, the fraying. The best method I found was to dip the brush itself in the water only a bit and layer your colors that way. I saved the blending after I laid out all the tones that I wanted, and I really do mean all the tones. This helps stop most of the fraying, but it's not a be-all end-all. Next, I wanted to see how well these would do when crafting an illustration. I drew a small tree and started to use the colors to render. Things to note was the drawing should be larger so that the watercolor can be spread out more for even blends. I would also be taking lighter colors and dipping them further into the water so I could use the pen itself to blend the colors together. Layering will work up to a point. Luckily, there wasn't much fraying for this small of a sketch. But the tree was not enough for me. I needed to go bigger. I grabbed another piece of watercolor paper. Time for a true test. A finished illustration. My subject, a chemi from my all-time favorite show on Netflix currently, Blue Eye Samurai. If you have yet to watch this series, go right now, go watch it. It's great. I love it. It's wonderful. Okay, so, and not gonna lie, I kind of look like one of the main characters, but that's a different story. I chose this character because her outfit consisted of a range of warm colors with a few intricate details, perfect for this test. I started my sketch with a Ticonderoga erasable colored pencil. Any colored pencil would do. I just used the erasable one so that way we could pull it up a little, make it lighter. I personally recommend when working with any watercolor you sketch with one of these pencils. It has a softer look to it and blends well after if you don't want to see any pencil marks later. When adding color, I started with the lightest tones, dipping them into a bit of water and gradually working in the saturation. Little by little, started at the edges and blended out the color to the center. As you can see at the side, I have a mesh sheet where I can test the colors before I add it to my final. That's another positive about this set is they give you one of those water-filled pens. This is a brush that can be filled with water or ink and used to mix your colors together. Getting details and refining sharp edges was easy using this brush because of such a fine point. It allowed me to add in the lipstick and eyebrows really cleanly, and I loved it. As I was working on the hair, there was this weird thing that was happening where it was kind of like the paper was fraying, but it also created a crater? I don't know. It could have been from overblending or just the paper itself. Later on, after everything dried, it was less noticeable, but still weird that it happened. To keep my layers clean and prevent this, I worked on separate areas while waiting for other parts to dry.
Watching the ink dry is the best part.
For the headdress and the decor within the hair, I had many different parts to it, and using bright colors next to the black, I definitely had to wait for these areas to dry before I added in any of the black and or yellow, because if they mixed, it would actually turn all of them gray, and we wouldn't want that. So yeah. I actually really loved her headdress throughout this show. They gradually changed certain parts of it from being super regal to things she found and put together herself. The whole show is beautiful. I'm obsessed. I'm sure you get it. When working on the kimono, it's an off-white color with embellishments. The reds are so vibrant that layering this over the yellows, I had to be sure it was not too saturated to overpower any of the lighter colors. For the browns, some would start off too light, blending in with the off-white. After gradually adding in browns with a more reddish shade, it started to actually come together. In the end, Arteza watercolor brushes worked well for what I needed. I want to add that if you are more of a landscape painter, these would work best for you. The brushes will create nice organic textures, and the colors, when layered, can produce a quality painting when on the go or actually traveling. For my illustrators that work on objects or character designs, this is a great tool, but be sure to clean up everything with colored pencils if you want more of a refined look. I took the final piece a step further and applied those pencils here. In the end, these can be a useful tool to have in your collection, and I would recommend these to anyone who wants that watercolor look while being on the go, as well as anyone who got frustrated with regular watercolor palettes. If you are a person who can't seem to get control over watercolors, I recommend trying these. These might actually lower your frustration and be a little more enjoyable. Alright. So be sure to check out my other videos for more reviews, and remember, always keep on scribbling.